assembled by the Israeli Defense Forces of graphic footage from the terrorist attack carried out by Hamas on October 7th. And with that, the Wrap reporting that much of the footage was filmed by Hamas and includes incredibly violent moments, including murders, beheadings, and rapes of Jewish people. Now, as far as the exact times and locations of the screenings, those haven't been made public for security reasons, but a handful of members from the press and others in the film industry have been privately invited. With all this coming after a small group of international journalists apparently already saw it a couple of weeks ago, per the Daily Beast, during that screening, some viewers burst into tears and had to leave the theater while seeing the graphic footage. Also, as far as why it's being slowly rolled out to small audiences, you had the Wrap writing, for Israeli leaders, the primary motivation to share the footage is to respond to international criticism of its military's actions in the Gaza Strip since October 7th, and continuing to say the 140.9 square mile region is currently experiencing a massive humanitarian crisis that has drawn condemnation from world leaders and citizens alike. Also with this, Oscar-winning Israeli filmmaker Guy Nativ has been leading these screenings, and according to I-24 News, he said Gal Gadot actually made these screenings possible as well, which brings us to why there's been a lot of backlash landing on her specifically, because while some think this footage should be seen, others argue that it's actually just propaganda the IDF is using to justify its attacks in Gaza. With those criticizing Gal saying things like, she may have played a superhero, but she's nothing more than a propagandist and a genocide enabler, as well as everybody who speaks out on behalf of Palestine gets fired or blacklisted. Meanwhile, the likes of Gal Gadot and Brett Gelman get to freely antagonize and distribute propaganda on behalf of a genocidal settler colony. Sensible country. And in the midst of all that, you even had the likes of Mia Khalifa condemning her writing. I've been trying to tell you, along with an old headline where she called Gal Gadot Genocide Barbie. We've also seen some questioning if it's really an accurate and full representation of what's going on. Why would the IDF not release it to the public? Some saying things like, so instead of just handing over the irrefutable proof of atrocities to journalists or news human rights orgs, they are holding private screenings with hand-picked audiences. Strange. If you're going on a propaganda offensive, you should get someone who can act. But with all that said, as the situation develops and we're seeing more and more reactions still coming through, I'd of course love to know your thoughts here. And then, there's always a lot of talk about the dangerous stupidity of a Florida man story, but what about today we do an Indiana woman story? Because we gotta talk about the news involving a woman in Indianapolis who drove her car into a building that she believed to be an Israel school after watching news coverage of the Israel-Hamas war, with law enforcement officials saying the woman was arrested at the scene after backing her car into the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. And notably, at the time, several people were inside, including 4 kids between the ages of 7 months and 3 years, but luckily, no one was injured. And according to a police statement, the woman, quote, told one officer she had been watching the news and couldn't breathe anymore, saying she referenced her people back in Palestine. With a statement adding that the woman said that she had passed by a couple times and saw the Israel school and admitted she drove into the building on purpose. Which, okay, 1, immediate hate crime, but also 2, if her intent was actually to attack a Jewish school, she wasn't even a little bit close. Because, plot twist here, the building that she drove into wasn't a Jewish school or even connected to Jewish groups at all. In fact, according to the Indianapolis Star, the building actually is affiliated with the Radical Hebrew Israelites, which the Southern Poverty Law Center designates as a hate group and describes as increasingly anti-Semitic, anti-white, anti-LGBTQ, xenophobic, and misogynistic sect of groups who preach they and only they are the true Israelites of the Bible and perpetuate the anti-Semitic belief that, quote, so-called Jews have stolen their identity and birthright. Which that's gotta feel weird. You can't even hate crime right. I mean, the irony of this woman trying to attack a Jewish organization by being so stupid she actually went after an anti-Semitic group. But still, with this, you have Jewish groups saying this is just another reminder of the very real spikes in anti-Semitic hate crimes that the community has seen since the war began. And the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis noting in a statement that the building had a semblance of a Star of David on the front door and adding, although a Jewish facility was not targeted solely due to ironic misidentification, this is yet another reminder to maintain security protocols, remain vigilant of suspicious activity, and to report them promptly to the appropriate authorities. And then it is now time for everyone's new favorite segment, Phil's Fun Fact of the Day, with a little help from Sammy Sacco. Hello! Hey, Sammy. So what's the fun fact of the day?
Yeah, well, I thought you might find it pretty cool to know that the personal information of countless U.S. military members is actually for sale, and that has potentially catastrophic consequences.
Oh yeah, that's true. A recent study published by Duke University researchers, which was funded by West Point, found that highly sensitive personal data of active duty members of the U.S. military can actually be purchased for mere cents.
Yeah, and we're not talking about just names and phone numbers. Researchers found that data available for purchase included full names, addresses, credit score, net worth, gambling habits, and details about religion, ethnicity, and political affiliation.
Yeah, I mean, they even found out whether a service member is married, how old their children are.
And that super personal information costs as little as 12 cents per person, and in one case, the data of more than 1.5 million service members was available for as little as a penny per record. And Phil, I know you're thinking, how exactly is this data available for purchase?
Yeah, I am.
Well, the researchers posed as buyers in the US and Singapore and contacted data brokers that listed data sets for active US military service members for sale. And in some cases, the researchers were able to purchase data sets for service members that specifically lived in Maryland, Virginia, or DC.
Oh yeah, and one CubeSats results even showed who lived near military installations like Quantico in Virginia or Fort Liberty in North Carolina. And in total, researchers bought datasets for nearly 30,000 active duty military personnel and an additional dataset on 5,000 friends and family of service members.
While data collection and sale is a multi-billion-dollar industry that affects nearly every single American, there is a different sort of risk when it comes with the data of military personnel, because their positions within the military and the rules regarding their conduct make them especially vulnerable to blackmail.
Blackmail?
Yeah, did I stutter? Fucking blackmail. With Major Jessica Dawson, a research scientist at West Point who initiated the study, saying,
I can take it from here. You shut your fucking mouth.
Saying, cheating on your spouse, financial issues, mental health concerns, all of those things can get your security clearances revoked. Those things are all in the data. It just takes the right combination of content and attackers to start trying to exploit that information.
Yeah, I saw this, and Justin Sherman, a lead researcher at Duke on the project, added, if researchers are able to purchase this, acting in ethical ways subject to university ethics processes, it would be very easy for a foreign adversary to do so. The Russian intelligence services don't have a ban on deception.
Yeah, and following their discovery, the researchers are now calling upon Congress to pass a comprehensive privacy law and for regulatory bodies like the FTC to develop rules regarding the purchase of military personal data.
Yeah, and notably, even though we've seen legislation proposed to address military data scraping before, it's not become a law yet.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait to see if Congress can do its fucking job. But in the meantime, let us know what your thoughts are in those comments down below. Okay, bye!
I promise I'm not losing it. Maybe a little bit. And then, you can understand sounds no matter what language that you speak or you're learning. Like that. The sound of a right answer in Babbel. So thanks to today's sponsor, Babbel, you can start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. No, really, you can start speaking Spanish, French, German, you name it, just in time to show off during the holidays. Because Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. And their tips and tools for learning a new language are rooted in real-life situations and delivered with conversation-based teaching. Not to mention getting to hear the Babbel sound when you get it right. You'll feel much more confident when ordering meals, getting directions, or just understanding what people are saying to or about you. I mean, honestly, the latter was half the reason I was even interested. I'm a paranoid boy. So don't pay hundreds of dollars for a private tutor. With language apps that are little more than games, Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are designed by over 150 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. And with over 10 million subscriptions sold, Babbel is real language learning for real conversations. So here's a special limited time deal for you beautiful bastards. To get you started right now, you can get 55% off your Babbel subscription, but only if you use babbel.com/DeFranco. That's right, I'm serious. That is 55% off at babbel.com/DeFranco. Spelled BABBEL.com/DeFranco. Rules and restrictions may apply. And then, it is in no way a secret that the creator-influencer economy has absolutely boomed over the past several years, but here's the question. How many of you can actually make it as an influencer? Which I know it sounds like I'm about to sell you on a course. For just $99 a month, you can join the DeFranco Alpha Man Squad. I'll give you daily tips on how to invest, make content, and how women aren't actually people. I'm kidding. About the course, not about can you be an influencer. Because actually, according to the data, a lot of us actually think we can. Right? I mean, in 2019, a global survey found that nearly 30% of kids aged 8 to 12 listed YouTuber as their top career choice. That is 3 times more than picked the classic astronaut. And that same year, a survey of Gen Z and millennials in the US found that more than half of 13 to 38-year-olds wanted to become social media influencers. And you'd be crazy to think that those numbers haven't gone even higher since then. And so now, to meet this demand, there's actually a growing cottage industry of summer camps and out-of-school programs that teach kids how to find fame in the digital age. With that, you have places like the Washington Post taking a closer look at one of those known as Creator Camp, a summer program for kids 6 to 13, where for $230 a week, you can send your kid there for 3 days out of the week, during which they make videos with props, green screens, costumes, lighting equipment, and other tools. With the goal being to learn technical skills such as video editing on ByteDance's platform, CapCut, storyboarding, script writing, and the basics of shooting a compelling vlog. And even though it was only founded 2 years ago, Creator Camp has exploded this summer, attracting as many as 1,300 campers to 11 locations across Texas. And their founder is saying they expect to expand to have 18 locations next year. Now with this, if you ask the co-founder, they claim that it's more than just a fame and riches machine, saying it's also about self-expression and creativity, and saying we want to change their relationship with technology to not just see it as entertainment, but to see it as a tool to create. But also, a lot of the campers were very open about what really drives them: social status, fame, and of course, money. With one 7-year-old saying, I love YouTube and I want to be famous on YouTube because I want a lot of money. And a 9-year-old saying, YouTube is a good path to getting rich because once you upload a ton of videos, that's when you start getting likes and money. And whether it's related or not, nearly every camper interviewed said they watch MrBeast and another YouTuber known as Unspeakable. And notably, as you go higher up the age ladder, kids don't just grow out of this dream like, wanting to be an astronaut. Because they're also saying things like so-called TikTok clubs and other after-school programs geared towards making kids famous on social media sprout up at high schools all around the country. And then it goes even further. further, even colleges are embracing this new career path, with, for example, Cornell, UCLA, USC, and East Carolina University all adding programs and courses on social media marketing and content creation. But also, here's the thing, whatever you think about this trend and this change, none of this should really come as a surprise. Money moves mountains, money moves minds. And with that, back in April, you had Goldman Sachs research analysts predicting that the creator economy, which it values at $250 billion today, would likely double in size by 2027. And the bank adding that 50 million people now work as creators around the world. And you had YouTube estimating last year that nearly 400,000 full-time jobs were supported by its creators' work. So increasingly, as we've talked about before, this industry is displacing traditional entertainment like cable